The next ethic that we are going to look at is people care. And people care is one that is starting to be more and more utilized and more developed. But originally in the permaculture movement that began in the 70s, there was really a need to prove the ability of permaculture to meet the first ethic, which is earth care, but is also to feed and nourish the human society, right? And this has been one of the fundamental aspects of permaculture that has been expressed. That's why when you look up permaculture, you mostly see a farm or a food forest or a water or aquaculture production system. It is very much oriented around earth care and around food production. So this has been very much flushed out. And when we look at people care, there's still has been quite a bit of work done in it, but it's been less in the limelight. Some of the most prominent authors in this work are Rosemary Morrow, are Lobi McNamara, as well as quite a few others who have done some significant work in the human permaculture realm. But human permaculture is really just, I mean, permaculture is all of these aspects, right? So when we say human permaculture, it isn't something new, it isn't something different. It's just that we are focusing on the social aspects of permaculture. So people care, what does it mean in permaculture? People care is something that you need to bring into your own life, because what it means is understanding that if you're not living a fulfilled life that is nourishing you, and I don't mean nourishing you just with food, because you can be incredibly well nourished, but you can be malnourished mentally. You could be malnourished socially. You could be malnourished with the actual employment interactions that you have, right? So when I say nourishment, I mean more so as a philosophical understanding of the needs that you require as a human being to actually flourish and actually, thrive. So what it means is, first of all, understanding that we are not individuals. We are not separate from any system. Yes, obviously we are unique individuals in one sense, but in another sense we are not separate from an ecosystem, and we cannot be separate from an ecosystem as we inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide, intake nutrient-rich foods, output nutrient-rich wastes. We are continually engaging in an ecosystem. And as a social species that evolved from primates, we have a massive social bond and social necessity that we need to consider in all of our designs, in all of our work, and in all of our living situations. So when we look at people care in permaculture, it's understanding that even the model of business that you run can adhere to ethically responsible principles of people care. For example, if you're an organization that accepts volunteers, many organizations accept volunteers. We have people coming in looking to build new skills. They have some desire to come and help. They end up volunteering with you and often doing some work that is very beneficial, but then in certain cases, doing work that is beneficial to you, but that is very mundane and not fulfilling of that person's needs. And so the person eventually decides to leave and go and try and find some other volunteering option somewhere else. So that didn't meet the needs of that person who was contributing to your ecosystem. And so that's a very linear or a extractive mentality, is to have volunteers come, take as much work that we can from them, and then have them move on to another place. If we look at the volunteering squirrels in the forest, well, the squirrels aren't being paid necessarily to plant oak trees. They're not being paid necessarily to aerate the mulch when they're digging for foods that are hidden underground, but their volunteer contributions to this forest build them better soil that builds or that grows better trees that produce more acorns that feed their children and their future generations. And so every contribution of their volunteering in this organization or in this ecosystem has such an important kickback to them that they could never stop volunteering. It's impossible for them to cease to function and perform that ecological function in that ecosystem, because they are so dependent upon its benefits, right? It is so good for them that they just can't stop. So this is something we need to create in our own ecosystem. If you accept volunteers, we need to be providing in that case a exchange system for those volunteers that is giving them education, or that is giving them experience, or that is building their social resilience, or that is providing them with some social counsel that may help them through some depression or some stressful moments that they're facing in life. We need to consider that this cannot be a linear extraction of time and function, and it really needs to be a continued kind of community contribution that we are supporting as much as receiving benefit from. Right? So, this is the idea of a more holistic perspective of something like volunteering when you apply the people care principle or the people care ethic. Another way we can think about people care is to really understand the way that we live our lives today in our homes. The average life of a urbanite, someone living in the city, we spend 90% of our day indoors. And you can think back, and maybe it was your mom, maybe it was your dad, if you were lucky enough to have parents telling you, go play outside. You spend too much time inside. You spend too much time in front of that screen or watching TV or whatever it is. Go play outside. You're grumpy. Go play outside. Anyway, these are the echoes that I have in my memories. And in reality, today, running a business where we're recording content online, where we're teaching online, where we're building designs for clients on computers in an office building, the idea of just go outside is a really nice one. But it's not one that you can do all the time, every single day, for large periods of time. And so we need to, as designers, look at how to reiterate and reincorporate these principles of nature into the actual systems that we live in today. And so this is where a principle called biophilic design comes into play, which is a design science that utilizes the understanding that humans have grown an affinity to nature as we have evolved in natural ecosystems for millennia, and therefore to put us in a gray or white box in an office building and hope for us to be creative, productive, inspiring, healthy, and ingenuitive beings is kind of ludicrous, because these are not the natural conditions that would originally have created those portrayals of humanity, the creativity, the ingenuity, and so on. So if you really want to spark the health of a human social ecosystem that would provide for someone to be productive, creative, ingenuitive, and respond to change, then we need to instill those patterns of nature that we as ecosystem elements have evolved in contact with. What does that mean? That doesn't mean just having plants everywhere, but it means having patterns of nature. So as you can see behind me, there are several different plants, but there's also, we have wood that is just driftwood that is giving us some patterns of nature. There are dry or preserved moss art pieces that you can put on the wall that actually function as soundproofing. So if you have a recording studio or an office or a meeting room that is too echoey, you can put these moss boards up that are going to cost way less than a sound insulation panel, but they're also going to provide patterns of nature that have been shown biologically to stimulate parts of your brain that are stimulated when you are out in nature. It's not obviously going to be as beneficial as going for a walk in the woods, but it is something that we can do on a daily basis, is surround ourselves with patterns that are natural and that stimulate these natural functions. You don't normally just do this with just visual patterns. We do this with sound, with water, with wind. We do this with smells being natural and aromas that you would find in nature, visual patterns, and light patterns as well. So even having the lights of the building change based on the time of the day, rather than being that 500 Kelvin cold blue lighting that keeps us awake no matter what time of day it is. So these are some of the aspects of applying people care to our designs and to our projects.